Overwatch.
Cars be here on Oasis. Second win gets into it here versus Mayhem Academy. And of course, one thing to look at here that's immediately notable is that there's no Widowmaker in play for second win, no sniper at all. They're going full old school dive. Meanwhile, Mayhem Academy, they're going to be playing with the Widowmaker and thus be playing a little bit further back, giving Apply time to find those picks.
And, well, this we did not actually know about. Aligned is coming in for Mayhem Academy, so he's traditionally not a main tank. I know him from, I believe, the Berkeley Overwatch squad, who took first, excuse me, 2 years in a row now, so that's interesting to see.
Everyone thought Irvine was going to take that one, but Berkeley, the Golden Bears, as Apply gets the first pick off on the Flubby early on. Mayhem Academy starting out the bang, but the dive gets their men on the other side. It's Wub and Zaxel creating chaos in the Mayhem Academy backline, so immediately the tables get turned. It's a brawl here on the point, but Second Wind is looking like they're going to take this first fight.
Shax might be able to get this TVT, but no, the Genji comes in to run that interference, and he has to run back, tries to make it over to the Mega. He's safe for now, but because Second Wind just had the overall man advantage, they were able to take the point. So Mayhem Academy, they're going to change things up. Apply, swapping over from that Widowmaker now onto the Brigitte. He knows that there are some threats online. He wants to deal with it, particularly with that Genji blade going to come up soon.
Yeah, exactly. You want to use the Brigitte to deny the blade as it comes in. Mayhem Academy now, again, looking for their way in. They can't be too divey with the Brigitte, so Aligned is kind of freelancing a little bit more than you'd expect. As Mercy backing him up, and in the backline, it's Shax going to find Flubby early on while Aligned was being stretched, but Wub, the equalizer, the blade in the backline, no Brigitte to be found, takes down 3, and he's done his job even as he falls.
So with that, Zaxel will finally clean up. Shax and now Second Win are going to maintain control of the point, and this is a great place for them to be because they won that fight and they were able to get up more ultimate charge. Suppose and Flubby now getting towards their, of course, respective support ultimates, and that's going to be huge coming in as Mayhem Academy. They're going to try and just barrel onto the back line with the big bruisers.
Well, the thing for Mayhem Academy, too, is that even when you win a fight, you're not always going to be able to take this right away. This is one of the hardest points to retake in the entire game. Teams can delay for a long time. But if they're going to get that decisive fight, they have to look for it now. They already got down Flubby, and the Valkyrie from Suppose is already gone, so Mayhem Academy is actually doing very well on here. 2 uncontested kills, a 6-on-4, both supports out of the fray, and Apply is applying all sorts of Brigitte pressure here with that rocket flail.
They do have to take out Suppose, but once they clean that up along with this Genji, Mayhem Academy will finally flip this on over, but Second Wind damage done, 81%, and now their reserves a little bit emptied, but they will have a Transcendence along with a Pulse Bomb. Never mind, as I say that, Zaxel swaps off. He's going over to the Pharah because he understands there aren't too many aerial threats for him. Apply is going to be stuck to the ground as that Brigitte, and it's just going to be Shax trying to pepper him with some damage from the ground.
Zaxel going to be looking for those pickoffs. The problem is that Pharah is more of a slow burn here, and you kind of need an explosion to retake a point like this. Mayhem Academy can stall for a very long period of time. We're going to see Flubby open up here with the Transcendence, but Mayhem Academy, for the most part, was able to get out of it. Krems tries to cover his mech death with the self-destruct, and does that and more. Takes down 2. Talking about getting out of the fire into something far more comfortable. Mayhem Academy going to hold.
Yeah, that looked great. When I was looking at the health bars, Krebs was just burning so quickly, that huge mech. But of course, he did have that get out of jail free card, and Wub just kind of stood in front of it as he tried to go for that Dragon Blade. So now he's going to swap off himself. He will go over to that Brigitte, but that does mean that, of course, Mayhem Academy has a huge lead in that regard right now. Apply 40% away from, of course, his rally, giving that extra shield, giving someone like Hagelpun that extra armor to stay alive even longer. Flubby is definitely going to need it on the opposite end because he's been the primary target for the dive coming up from Mayhem.
This is going to be the best opportunity for Second Wind to take this back right now before ults fully come online from Mayhem Academy. If they lose this, they're probably going to lose the next fight as well. So we'll see what they do here. You see Shax on the outskirts, still on Tracer, holding on to the Pulse Bomb. Just looking at throwing Second Wind back. Gonna be coming in from the right side. Pulse Bomb out. It connects anyways. Wub still in the Pulse Bomb at the very end. Brigitte's out of play. Mayhem Academy working out the 6-on-5. Both Brigitte's are out of it though, and Second Wind starting to bring this back. This was their opportunity to get back into it, and they're making good use of it now.
And Suppose bringing Wub back into this, they have all of the sustain to keep them into this fight, but of course this is Oasis, this is City Center. It can take quite some time to be able to clean up those last final members. So as overtime almost ticks away, Second Wind will be able to flip it over, and now it's coming down to one final team fight. And Mayhem Academy, they might have their rally, but they definitely will have, of course, Paintbrushes, Valkyrie to come into this fight, but they have to be careful. Zaxel sitting with that barrage. They have to keep an eye for him. Also,
Flubby's gonna get Transcendence up midway through this fight. It's not super advantageous for Mayhem Academy, but they must press forward. We're in full overtime here, and we look to Zaxel. The barrage loaded, looking for any easy pickoff he can get. For now, staying in the back line. Second Wind is playing this back. They're not the ones under pressure right now. Mayhem Academy also just staying on the point. They haven't committed, but sees Axel, goes in deep, drops a barrage, gets one, and he's not gonna stay alive. Was close, was getting covered, but ends up falling as a result. It's an even trade right now, 5-on-5. Ginger gonna go for the Primal Rage, but Shax is brought back up. Mayhem Academy now working in a numerical advantage. And the Shax immediately back up, gets opposed, and Mayhem Academy could bring this back.
The self-destruct did take out Paintbrush, but they have a Transcendence behind it. Mayhem Academy will charge forward as Shax declips Zaxel's wings, and now they're on to the final member. It looks like a Wub going down here with Janitor getting demech'd. Mayhem Academy will flip the points. Don't know if anyone from Second Wind will be able to touch it. We have to swap out from the Lucio, but he just gets burned down by the Tesla cannons from aligned. Mayhem Academy will take the first point.
Look, bottom line there is if you're going to go in for a barrage and commit that much to a pickoff, you got to make sure you finish your plate and don't let it get res back up, because the problem is Zaxel went so far deep that he was not in a position to be brought back up. Meanwhile, Shax is just like, oh, yeah, of course I'm going to get brought back up. What does he do after coming back into the fray? Immediately gets a pulse bomb kill on the Suppose on the other side. And it just really snowballed out of control from there, where also, I would just say from the Second Wind perspective, you don't have to go for the crazy barrage hero play at that moment. Mayhem Academy is more under pressure. You can hold that a little bit further back.
Yeah, I felt like there was a little bit of a misplay there because Ginger on the Winston did have his Primal Rage, so even though that they had lost Zaxel, they could have used Ginger with the Primal Rage, bat everyone around, create the space for a safe res. Instead, as Suppose goes for the res on Zaxel, he just goes down because no one's covering him at all. And so now as we load onto University, that's a great ult coming out from a line. That's going to force the Reinhardt onto the low ground. No shield in play.
You know, Reinhardt actually doesn't like taking the stairs. It's incredibly stressful for him. But now, Second Wind, they have to wait for the Reinhardt to rotate back around. Luckily for them, the control point hasn't quite unlocked here yet. Apply on the left side. Storm Arrows looking for pickoffs. Shax in the skies, but it's going to be Wub who punishes it. Fastest Cowboy in the West takes down Apply, puts up Second Wind one man here, and he's not done yet. Again, applying pressure from that right side of Second Wind. See what they do with this man advantage, but they're not able to capitalize. Shax equalizes right away.
And that's the difficulty, even though McCree counters, of course, Afara, if he doesn't have line of sight, he can't actually hit her at all, even though you have lower skyboxes here. So Zaxel taking out Apply. He's been the target of most of our DPS coming out right now. So that's going to leave the man advantage for Second Wind coming into this fight.
Oh, this is could be a disaster for Second Wind. They're going in heavily because they know they have the man advantage, but Shax already has a barrage built up. And again, Reinhardt going down into the pit. Shax, a little bit over-aggressive, takes one to the head from Wub. And Second Wind making a fairly good assault back in here, but Ginger just getting abused left, right, and center, taken on down. Zaxel decides to make it rain, takes down two, and Second Wind, off of that barrage, finally have enough to take the point.
And that was a lot of resources put into Zaxel also to make sure that he succeeded in that. So Janitor also throws over the projected barrier onto him so no one's able to burst him down. He's able to get the full channel off. It wasn't until the end where Krems comes in with that junk gun to clean them up. But now Mayhem Academy, they were able to secure 32% here as now Shax is slowly making his approach onto the point. Now Dragon Strike is used to split up the team. Hagopoon picks up one, and there's a second one as Ginger falls.
Aligned has been getting so much mileage out of these halts right now, used as a mini graviton to set up the Dragon Strike, and that's more than enough for Mayhem Academy to just saunter right onto the point and be like, yeah, we're taking this. 34-33, very even here so far.
I'm very familiar with Aligned as primarily a DPS player, but he also is just fairly accomplished on the other roles. So him coming into the main tank or even playing off tank, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And he's been doing a fairly good job, especially here with this Orisa. His halts, like you had mentioned, have been absolutely on point. Ginger hasn't been able to play half this round because he's been stuck just running back upstairs.
It's been good for cardio for Ginger, that's about it. But Janitor, again, drop in the graviton, almost getting picked off for it, and Second Wind wasn't really ready to fall up on it. It was Shax from the opposite side came at the barrage and just ruined their day. The fight ends before it even begins, and the Graviton is well in the trash.
And the big thing about that is it took 100 percentage points for him to actually build that up. Take a look, 34 plus 70, that's 100 something, right? So now Janitor, his counter is reset, and I don't know if he's going to be able to build it up with this kind of slower composition. Second wind, I don't think they're going to be able to get another grav unless they win this team fight, and that's a huge task.
I just wonder if Ginger's going to take another trip down there. No, he's just going to get eaten by the dragon. Apply again, ending the push before it can even begin. Aligned, helping to set that up once more. And Mayhem Academy certainly handling their business here towards the end. 98%, 99. This one, stick a fork in it, it's done. Mayhem Academy taking map number 1.
Well, that was an exciting map.
I mean, it was really odd for me because, so I come from like a very collegiate Overwatch background, and seeing Online's name there, I was just taken aback, and I was really proud, and I had to stay biased or unbiased, you know. But yeah, he did a great job, and I was really surprised that they actually brought him in, I believe in favor of Milky Man. I'm not sure if they were able to bring Milky Man into the States. Maybe that might be the reason why. Have Aligned here on the West Coast. He's going to be on North American ping, and he's a good off-tank. He's a good DPS, and as he's shown off, he's actually a good main tank also.
Yep. And also, I mean, to focus on the second round there, Ginger didn't get to play the game. Nope. Ginger's entire experience was like, I'm Reinhardt. I'm going into a pit. I'm walking up the stairs. Repeat over and over again. Meanwhile, second win is like, wait, didn't we have a Reinhardt in this composition? Weren't we supposed to have some protection? And then as they kept going forward, they kept getting caught off guard over and over again. Initiations were a disaster for second win, but a lot of that was a very good Orisa play from the line.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure just being applied from every angle onto Ginger, and he was just shut down the entire time. As you see there, like at the end of that, he was never able to use his Shatter, and we got to see even the Zarya. She wasn't able to get a good Graviton off because as she was coming in, I believe she had about 60 HP before she threw it, and then instantly she's like, oh no, I'm not in a good spot. I need to run back. I need to run back to the safety of my Rhine, but she falls on the retreat.
Well, also, they weren't running any of the usual best friends from Zarya there, where, yeah, I mean, you could get a Reinhardt in that could swing the hammer, but there was no Hanzo, the Send a Dragon. You have McCree, and Deadeye Graviton isn't really something that lights up the world in most cases. So it was also a weird thing where it's like, okay, you're going to shoot a Graviton. What's next?
Right.
And they didn't have anything.
So for second win, do you think it was more of a compositional error or a communication error? What do you think really was their downfall there?
I really do think it was the compositional error because they started off with the Gambit where they run the Pharah and McCree, while on the other end, they ran a Pharah and the Hanzo. Now, even though they had gotten to pick onto the Hanzo, onto Apply, I believe, because the McCree Wub was playing inside that inner corridor where he has that small angle, the door that he has to look out from. That's an easily spammable area for that Pharah, and we saw him fall as soon as he peeked his head out.
Well, and to that point, too, when McCrees generally have good success on that particular round of Oasis, you see the McCrees having success when a team is trying to play the outskirts more, right? Where it does come at risk of getting booped off into the abyss, but a McCree from the higher ground there does have more room to work with, can more easily shut down threats, whereas, you know, as mentioned, if a McCree is coming out of a closed-in area, well, that's an area where even a Pharah can take down McCree.
Yeah, he's just playing whack-a-mole from there, basically.
Right,
but it's only 2 holes that he has to really fire at.
And it looks like our next map is going to be King's Row. So for each team, what do you think will be their strengths and weaknesses on this map?
Ginger can only get thrown into one particular pit on this map. So
Ginger's good.
Pit, but there are 2 entrances to that one.
Yes.
So
I mean, it is towards the end, but at the very least, Ginger can know that he has firm footing in the very beginning. Aligned cannot quite drop him to the abyss, but look out on point C.
Someone should put a child leash on Ginger, make sure that he can't go anywhere.
I mean,
he's a big German man who's going to be able to, like, hold that up.
I don't know, Farah maybe? Like, she could fly off with him.
This just sounds like terrible stories of a lifeguard drowning because the person they're saving is, like, pulling them under.
Oh, God, you're right.
I think the saving grace here, though, is Zaxel. I mean, we built him up last week, and he did have a better performance so far on this last map, especially with the Pharahs. We'll see if he can continue that trend, and then from there, I think they could build off of his success.
All right, so predictions for this map. Who do you think's really going to take this one? Really going to show their skills?
Mayhem Academy. Mayhem Academy looked far stronger on round 2. Second win still, again, showing that there's times where they can compete, where they did have a good chance of taking round 1. But so far, Mayhem Academy is looking to be a more complete team.
Yeah, I definitely still give it over to Mayhem Academy, especially learning about their main tank swap-off there. I mean, Milky Man didn't leave much to impress last week, and the line has already performed drastically better.
All right, well, with those predictions, let's see if our boys are psychic, and let's check out some Overwatch.
Once more to the mean streets of Kings Row. And what are we going to be seeing here on the defense? Well, going to be seeing Shax coming up here as Widow on Mayhem Academy. Not going to be Apply, where Apply seems to be both a Widow specialist for them, but also their Brigitte go-to.
So Zaxel gets swapped out from second win, actually, and it's going to be Shadows coming in. And, you know, Shadows did have some really good Widow play last week, and so we'll see if that's going to be enough right now up against Mayhem Academy's Shax, as the Widow battle will ensue here, of course, because it's Kings Row.
It tells me that second win, they see Shadows as somewhat of a Widow specialist, so I do wonder if we'll be seeing the duo of Wub and Zaxel for any other maps aside from Control. Either way, let's see what Shadows can do here in this Widowmaker as he looks for those early pickoffs.
Now, they also have Wub on the Genji, and he has had some really good Genji blades in the past. He had one in the last map itself. Halt Hook does not net a kill for Mayhem Academy, but second win has made their way into the hotel.
I really feel like Wub should be a Lucio player. It really fits with the Wub, 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 like musical dubstep type stuff, but no. Instead, he's just gonna be a Genji that has already worked his way to the back. Nice job of building ult charge there. Shadows, though, gonna fall. It's actually Hagapoon that caught him on the other end. He was a little bit too far forward. And Wub now trying to desperately work his way out, so he gets ult charge while not trying to get staggered at the same time, but I don't think he's going to get away from that one. Ends up falling as Mayhem Academy is looking very strong here so far.
It was quite unfortunate because Wub was able to make it back to Shax and got him down to about 1 bar of HP. Not much at all left on that Widowmaker. He just needed one more shuriken to land. And then from there, it could have been, of course, just second win being able to bully onto the point. Without getting that, though, it was just a lot of lost time. Fortunately for him, he built up 73% towards that blade. So Mayhem Academy, we'll see if they can shut that down.
Most viable pick here for second win would be Paintbrush here. If you can hit Paintbrush before you can even consider Valkyrie, there's a good chance of taking this fight. The problem for them, if they get into a long, drawn-out slugfest where Paintbrush is Valkyrie in the sky, it's going to be tough. So Valkyrie already going to come out here. Mayhem Academy going to be a little bit more aggressive in dealing with that. But first, they handle their business in the back. Shadows going to end up falling. Shax takes him out from afar. They see the Diva in their own backline. And Shadows actually does get brought back up. So Shax working under pressure. Mayhem Academy still very good. Takes down Shadows again. This time he's not getting back up.
Self-destruct was committed onto there, and they do go ahead and push forward now, do second wind. Even though they are man down, Wub tried to make his way into the backline with that Genji, but we saw that Widow Mine just dwindling away at his health, and all he could do was deflect into the Widow's Kiss. And so now the rally will be used by Mayhem Academy here on the defense. They're going to get the extra armor onto their support. And I mean, they just need to keep Paintbrush alive.
They need to keep Paintbrush alive, and also they need to neutralize Wub, which means Wub needs to avoid Apply. Apply is going to be looking out for the blade. It's the main thing he doesn't want to run into. It's why he hasn't gone in immediately with the blade. But Apply's down. There's no one to stop Wub. Wub now can just go, wait, you're telling me I can bring up this blade and no one can do anything about it? Yes, Wub, that's exactly what we're saying. But he ends up getting stuck on the other side. Apply gets brought back up, and Wub still has been enough of a distraction. That second wind is looking very good at taking this fight.
Apply not able to get that one-shot damage combo off onto him, even though he had the supercharger there. They're going to try and delay this for as long as possible, but aligned on the Orisa with no support will fall. So second wind, take point A. As we move on to the streets phase of Kings Row here, they're going to have 3 minutes and 38 seconds. We'll see if they make any changes. Wub now possibly going over to the Doomfist, and I like this.
Oh boy, this is something where Line might get punched in the jaw 1, 2, maybe 3 times. Scary stuff though towards the end of that last fight, where that could have gone very rough if the fall through from Brigitte was there onto Wub.
Yeah, luckily for Align, there isn't also a Brigitte in play, so it's not just going to be Reinhardt pinball here, where he's just getting batted around by every kind of CC imaginable. Apply charges forward with this Reinhardt. They're going to try and contest at this corner.
They're holding right now on second, where Mayhem Academy, they're not too keen on going super deep, but now that they've D-Mech Janitor, watch the sort of playstyle change here, where you see Align being more confident in going forward. Apply just backing up with shield breaking, and on the other side, Wub is already down.
Yeah, Krebs has just been up in this apartment side this entire time. After he chased down Janitor, he goes even further, going after Shadows there. Krebs, he needs to get evicted. I don't know if anyone can really do it from the second win squad, because really a good Diva can deal with a Doomfist.
Yeah, Doomfist, I mean, it's also his teams aren't super great dealing with generally. Nice deflection there from Ginger, but while he turns his back, Apply puts arrows into it, so doomed if you do, doomed if you don't, I suppose. Shadows still trying to bring this back for the second win squad. They're still committing to this fight, and Shadows continues to lay in the damage, not getting blocked by shields at all. Big part of why a line goes down, and second win gonna win the battle of attrition here, in no small part due to the consistent damage thrown up by Shadows in the back.
They'll have an opportunity here to contest at least one more time before it gets over to the checkpoint, and they're gonna have, of course, Hagapoon's Transcendence. As long as he hits a few more orbs, they just need to set up a line with this Earth Shatter, but he becomes so difficult here because they don't have the same amount of control, right? They don't have like a Brigitte that can set it up, that can try and stun Ginger. So it's gonna be a Ryan v Ryan. The shield battles are Earth Shatter battles.
And Wub, he's going in deep because he's definitely planning on using the Meteor Strike. The Transcendence is out, and Wub doesn't really care about it. He's looking for that sweet center damage from the Doomfist. Not quite going to get it, but did mess with the positioning of the defense. Second win takes advantage of the chaos, and they get point B.
That was beautiful. Wub comes in from over the top, uses the rising uppercut onto a line, and so as soon as he's sent to the sky, Ginger drops that Earth Shatter onto the members of Mayhem Academy, and they clean up from there. And so Aligned will be holding on to his Earth Shatter. He's got it, and they have to know, do second win. They've got to be careful of it.
Shadows, meanwhile, on the high ground, trying to continue to apply pressure on the Widowmaker. Second wind not going over dive, and oh, Shadows had an opportunity, still gets it anyways. Shax goes down, has the Zenyatta in check on the right side. Looking to deny the res, but can't. Paintbrush using the pillar quite well, but gets Shax again. Shax is getting murdered in these one-on-one Widow battles, and it's setting the stage for second win, where they got a few extra kills on the other side. They're keeping the payload moving forward, and Mayhem Academy is in disarray.
Aligned finally used that Earth Shatter, but it's with his dying breath, and no one's able to make it onto the point, so second win will just chug along through King's Row, finishing it off. There was almost no defense coming out from Mayhem Academy, except for that one fight on, of course, our second.
Yeah, and I mean, Mayhem Academy on the very beginning didn't look too bad on point A, but what was looking like the starts of a formidable hold just kind of fell apart, and no small part of that in second was Shadows just not only laying in tons of damage in the Widowmaker, which ended up resulting in the tank line falling, but also, I mean, the disruption of Doomfist coming in from Wub into second point, and it definitely threw Mayhem Academy off.
Yeah, Wub just set up that Earth Shatter coming out from Ginger so perfectly right here is where it took place. And so now Mayhem Academy, they're going to change their looks just a little bit, and it looks like they're going to go for a dive composition with the Winston, the D.Va, and along with the Genji is the Shimada brothers coming out, as Hanzo is being hovered over by Shax. And why not? I mean, Hanzo is so strong right now, even though this is his quasi-nerf patch.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing teams play Hanzo regularly. I mean, also King's Row. Hanzo has been played here fairly frequently, even before he was changed at all. So just the tinier corridors of the map do work out well for how Hanzo's weapon works, especially on first, where we've seen people get good pickoffs on Hanzo on first, pretty much dating back to the beginning of Overwatch. I mean, beginning of Overwatch, we had 6 Hanzos.
I mean, the rate of fire, of course, with the storm bow, it's absolutely nuts. The storm arrows, you can shoot out 6 quicker than you can if you had like a Grand Matron bow. And so now Mayhem Academy, I like this look coming out from them. It gives them a lot more initiative up against Second Wind, who are going to be running a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Stationary composition, there we go, with the Orisa. Orisa is strong here, and it's a very defensive composition, as Janitor is going to be picking up the D.Va instead of a Roadhog here.
And the key here is that you're running the Orisa, you give Shadows a little bit more protection. Meanwhile, Mayhem Academy, they're just like, yeah, we don't really care that you're running this, we're going to dive on into you to begin with. So this is going to get started very quickly here. We see Apply is in the hotel, looking to go around the left flank. Meanwhile, the other Shimada in Hanzo is coming over here onto the right flank. So to your left, a Shimada, to your right, a Shimada. It's a Shimada type of day right now for second win.
Yeah, we'll see if Mayhem Academy can actually try and force him onto the low ground. The dive came out from Apply, and he just went far too deep there. They were able to clean him up as he was trying to retreat. No other pressure being applied now, but Hagapoon was able to take out Suppose.
And that means there's not going to be any reses here for the second win side. Mayhem Academy going to have Apply back here in a moment, which will give them the 6v5 opportunity. They've infiltrated this back area, and now you look to Shadows, one person who could actually save second wind here in the situation. Looking for pickoffs. Mayhem Academy Now that they have a full 6, they're going to be far more in tune with going for the high ground. They're making their move now. You see Apply here on the ground. They're already got a tick for free. Ginger's going to fall, and this might all come to the wayside here for Second Wind as they are getting overpowered and outgunned here on their own point.
Now they're just trying to hunt down this Mercy, but he does have the defense matrix. Gonna try his best to keep Janitor alive, but he will get demeched, and now Suppose surviving with a sliver of HP. Does get out somehow. No, he finally gets chased down by Align, who picks up 2 at the end of that. So Mayhem Academy clean it up. That all started off quite a while ago with that pick off onto Suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the Mercy is probably the one hero you don't want to lose above all else, because that is the permanent 5-on-6 when both teams are running a Mercy. And given the fact that the offensive spawn points are right there, it does create those opportunities where you can overpower the other team, and that's what we saw.
And we saw that slow burn coming up from Mayhem Academy after they got that pick, right? They spot out Ginger up top with that Orisa, and the Zen heals just isn't enough when a Winston and a Genji, along with a Hanzo, both try to focus her down. Despite her shield, oh, Apply gets caught out, and it's Shadows once again.
This is real awkward for Align, who is going there for the ambush and Primal Rage, where he's going to be real disruptive. He just goes, oh, yeah, I don't want to use this anymore. We've lost too many people. And where is Align? Is he still in the back? Is he still a stealth Winston? I think he is. Yeah, he's still there behind Shadows.
It's kind of like a horror movie, right? You just don't hear the monster. All of a sudden, monster. We'll see if Aligned can be that disruptive force in the back line. There's a lot of ultimates, almost all 6 of them for Mayhem Academy coming to this next attack. And
now Winston is going in the back. Aligned setting up, has the Primal Rage at the ready. Doesn't even use it here just yet. And the Transcendent gonna be nullifying a lot of what Apply is going for here. But on the other side, in the chaos, Shadows takes an arrow right to the head. And Mayhem Academy, 6v5, now getting a little bit more. Apply with room to work with. The payload very much pierced through here by Mayhem Academy. They're gonna get exactly what they need.
Yeah, it was just the double dragon pressure coming out from both of the Shimadas. Shadows, he gets jumped on by Apply with that Dragon Blade, has to use that grapple hook away, and once he gets dethroned from his perch there, Shax is able to easily land that headshot on him. Mayhem Academy, even though they had 6 ultimates online, they only needed to use the 2 while they baited out 2 from the other end from Second Wind.
And Second Wind, the only real play that they have coming in here is they'll have an Earth Shatter if they wait a little bit longer. They have a self-destruct. They're gonna open up with the Dragon to have a bit of chaos, but it's not gonna work. Mayhem Academy sees right through it. An immediate 3 pickoffs. Shax going to town, and that's easily gonna be point B for Mayhem Academy.
And coming into the third point, they still maintained, of course, both of their support ultimates. They didn't have to use it in the last 2 fights. So now Second Wind, even though they do have the Earth Shatter and they've got the self-destruct, you know, if they get a good Earth Shatter off and everyone can dodge the self-destruct, Mayhem Academy can still try and heal through a lot of this. And Hagokun, even if he gets caught out in a weird position, he's got the invulnerability of the Transcendence.
Well, they're committing to this. The Valkyrie's already out. The self-destruct gonna put them aside to a little bit, and it gets Apply early on. So a big source of damage, Mayhem Academy out. Yes, Apply's gonna be brought back up, but in the interim, Second Wind just dove on in. Shax, though, says, hey, I'm back up. I'm not done yet. Gets the early pickoff, looking for more, and the pressure for Mayhem Academy now gets to continue, and they're fully committing here. The Transcendence from Hagopun, you see them going in even deeper, and even though Apply just got smushed against the side, Mayhem Academy has a huge advantage here. It's Aligned and the Dragon making space. Mayhem Academy gonna slide on through, and we're gonna go to some extra rounds.
And that was just ultimate rotation coming out from Mayhem Academy. It worked out perfectly. They used both DPS ultimates in the second to last fight on second, and of course they use the tank ultimates afterwards. That buys enough time for Shax and Apply to build up another blade, another dragon. They dive into the back line with Aligned. It was just such a great rotation coming out from Mayhem Academy there, and even though that at some point they were down a man, they were able to still fight back because they had the raw power of their ultimates.
One thing to note here, too, is that in terms of Mayhem Academy bringing things back, is that even though it felt like Mayhem Academy sort of fell apart a bit on the defense against Second Wind, they're actually working with a better time here. 3 minutes, 24 seconds of their time banked to 2:02. As far as Kings Row goes, I would say this is still pretty even, right? Where generally you can expect a team to get point A, and then there's a lot is going to be said for overtime. But in fairness, is a slight edge to Mayhem Academy, and we'll see what they do here. As again, they're going to be going to a defense that's more anchored than not.
Yeah, this is the same composition they ran last time with Apply going over to the support role in Brigitte, and Hagopun flexing on over to the Roadhog. So, you know, almost 4 tanks, but it's still technically 2 supports coming up from Mayhem Academy. Second wind might change things up just a little bit. I don't know if Suppose will swap off after he speed boosts them out, or if they're going to go with this. No, he swaps over to the Mercy now. So it's going to be Wub starting it off with the Doomfist this time.
Interesting choice to go with the Doomfist this early. And again, I mean, it's something that Mayhem Academy didn't really deal with super well last time, but I do wonder how often you can go to that well and expect people to not be prepared.
Well, this time it is his opening volley, his opening gambit, so he can still swap off onto that Genji. I think he did a good job. He just wasn't able to finish his plate when he got onto Shaxx. But with Janitor going down, Second Wind are going to have to reset here. Now their time is starting to dwindle away.
Minute 30 gives him a good, like, 3 or 4 attempts here. It's not something you can get complacent about, though, especially as ultimates do start to come online. Shadow's just holding in the back, and this could be a little bit slower than Second Wind might like.
And again, though, Shadows, he has been going off on this Widowmaker, so he can't just open the door for them. He's taking his slowly measured approach now on the right-hand side. As he peeks every angle, he does spot out the Diva. That's not who he's looking for, though.
They're spending a lot of time, almost 30 seconds to wayside just on set for this fight alone. Now they finally engage into the fight. Wub goes in deep and falls just as quickly. Apply, treats him to the Rocket Flail, and Mayhem Academy just easily dealing it with that from their anchored up position. Second Wind quickly going to be falling down to their last attempt.
I feel like Mayhem Academy are just kind of throwing a curveball over to Second Wind, because a lot of times when you have this kind of Orisa composition along with the Widowmaker, a lot of teams do take the high ground here. So Second Wind, they have to scout out all these angles first before they realize that, hey, they are actually just playing on the point. Halt, hook, does it catch? No, it doesn't.
Not quite. Second Wind, though, they need to make an attempt now if they want to have any extra attempt. Ginger going to go in very heavily, gets Paintbrush, and he might have fallen, but that is the definition of worth. Now, 5-on-5, last good attempt here for Second Wind. You look to Suppose he's going to get Valkyrie up mid-fight, probably going to instantly use it, and does. Doesn't want to res here just yet, waiting for the Transcendence, you would think. Second Wind trying to go off to the side, and they've lost Flobby. He was about to get Transcend. He was their ticket through. Mayhem Academy with the aid of Hagopun, who gets 2, make it 3. Whole hogging his way on through, is now on the verge of holding Second Wind right here and right now. Overtime ticking down, cleanup in progress, and with a boom, it's going to be Mayhem Academy holding here in Point A.
And this is a dangerous prospect now. Mayhem Academy on the cusp of taking the second map, sending them over to match point here. They've got 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, I believe, to try and get 1/3 on point A. And it looked like just the raw damage coming out from Hagopun was enough for Mayhem Academy to really just tip this over the edge. For Second Wind, they just weren't able to find anything. Shadows, even though he's had a great Widow round, wasn't able to do much at all in that last attack run coming out for Second Wind.
And, I mean, that's kind of the downside at times when you run a Widow on the attack, is that you're sort of assuming that you're going to get pick off, and oftentimes you do, but if the other team is playing in such a way that they're denying the possibility of getting those pickoffs, where the team is, you know, hiding behind Orisa and using the terrain to their advantage, it could take a long time to find that, and Second Wind did not have that much time available for that first attack.
Yeah, I'm surprised, especially when you have a 2-minute time bank, right? Conservatively, if you have like a Zarya Ryan composition, right? In that 2 minutes, you should be able to get a Graviton Surge up for that Zarya. Maybe that could have been the play coming out for Second Wind on the offense. Try to go for that big wombo combo with a Hanzo along with the Zarya, but instead they wanted to go for that pick composition, which just didn't work out for them. Ginger at one point was able to get onto Paintbrush and take him out, but they had to commit their entire main tank's health pool for that.
All right, it's going to be Mayhem Academy now in the attack. Only 33% is what they need here, so Second Wind, even losing a single person here, would potentially spell the end of their game.
Ryan Diva defense coming out from Second Wind, and so Janitor can, you know, run back and peel, but right now Mayhem Academy, they are slowly just closing the noose on Second Wind here, as they do have their divers on the high ground here. This is going to slowly close the distance between them and the back line.
Shadows, though, takes down Shaxx early on, and that's a breathing room Second Wind needed here. That gives them the ability to potentially deal with the wins on top. Now, the Resurrection has come in. They weren't able to protect that from coming back up, so now they need to kind of go back to as they were and realize they're in a success. Hagopun takes that too. I'm not even sure how that's possible. But the early Zen pickoffs mean that Mayhem Academy is going to very easily get their third. Mayhem Academy taking map number 2 away from Second Wind here. powered by Hagobun, who, my goodness, what a play.
Yeah, and that was just a slow, measured response coming out from them, right? Mayhem Academy understood we have 3.5 minutes. All we need is a third. One good dive. Let's set this up perfectly. And they did. They took the high ground. They forced everyone onto the low ground. And then from there, they don't even have to commit their gap closers to get onto the back line. They just jump down from the window. And then from there, they can make sure that they use their gap closers, all their different shifts, just to get the damage off and just burst down members. Well,
I was really excited to see some different characters played on there. Like, we don't see Doomfist very often, and when Doomfist got picked and was played a lot, I mean, I was happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm not sure the Doomfist itself was super effective. It was a situation where, obviously, from the Mayhem side, you're like, wait, you're running a Doomfist, and you're going to get a little bit more extra mileage there because it's not something that teams are super prepared for. But the surprise factor definitely had fallen off by the time we had gotten to the second attack. And Mamikaz is like, wait, we know how to deal with this. And Wub was getting focused down very heavily anytime he even thought about diving in.
Yeah, going for that Doomfist composition was really weird for me, especially after he was able to realize what the entire composition was on the defense for Mayhem Academy. You had a Diva along with an Orisa, a Roadhog, and a Brigitte. 4 heroes that could absolutely control a Doomfist, even if he tries to come in and use all of his skills. And so at one point, like, if you jump in and you die, you instantly have to swap off, or you should have just swapped off before even diving in. So I feel like that was a really big miscall, but he did have his moments early on. We saw him set up that Earth Shatter for Ginger when they were on second, using the Rising Uppercut onto Aligned, and that was a good play, but beyond that, I didn't see much else coming out from the Doomfist.
Were any of you guys surprised to see Shadows subbed in this game?
Oh, not at all, given the fact that he was playing well on Widow last week. Of course, that was Shadows versus Zachary, which was fairly even, but, you know, Shadows did have his bright points. It just makes sense, right, where some teams have a Widow specialist, and they're going to bring him out for Widow maps, and, you know, as kind of said in the preamble, I think that Shadows is probably that person for second wind, and given the fact that Widow is so prevalent here on the maps that we're likely to be playing in the third and fourth, I'd probably expect him to be playing the rest of the series.
Yeah, he popped off, right? He popped off, absolutely there, but it was just, even though they had a great offense, it was just a much better offense coming out from Mayhem Academy, where they just rolled through second and third almost unimpeded. They just had great ultimate rotations coming out from both the tank and the DPS lines, and it was just something like there was no answer from the opposite end coming out, of course, from second wind.
Right, and speaking of popping off, Hagopun also popped off as a support player. That was pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, and that's also something that makes championship teams, where you look at a team like NYXL and you wonder, it's like, well, why does NYXL have a lot of the success they do? Well, how many free fights do they get from Jonak? And we saw shades of that from Hagopun here, where he was able to get pickoffs where you don't normally expect a Zen to get pickoffs, and it completely changes the course of the fight. The dirty secret of Overwatch, as said, is that if you don't have a flex support that is going to be able to do that in that role, you're going to find it very difficult to beat teams that do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember last year when they were on GC Busan, were on the Royal Road, making their way towards the championship for Apex. A lot of the flex supports I knew that I talked to was like, this is the guy. This is the guy that you go to when you need a fight to be opened up. Hagopun is the new god.
Well, we are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with so much more Overwatch awesomeness in just a few minutes.